Alright, hello everybody. I've not made one of these for a while. Sorta had some computer issues recently. I finally managed to have both a working computer and a working mic, which is nice. So I'm back at it with a captain's log. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really plan this out a lot, but I figured I should try and make another one as soon as I could, so we're just gonna kinda, probably a little rambly, just talk through my drafts this week of RD2L. They are a little different from the original videos in terms of my take on the drafts. Or not my take, but my approach, I should say. If you notice here, I am on the Dire team, and we are second pick. That was intentionally chosen, and we are actually second pick for both games in this series. So before I get into the details, I'll just explain my reasoning there. I had ideas on what I wanted to pick for my side lanes already, and I thought there was probably not a very high chance of them fully countering those. I thought even with us exposing our heroes very early, we would probably be fine on our side lanes. I think the carry pool right now in particular is sort of small. Not necessarily small in what's playable, but small in what's, like, good. Like, I think there's a very small group of carries that are very good. And if I could get my hands on those, we are pretty set. Gyro being one of the main ones. You notice Lifestealer got banned. Wraith King, Void, also pretty good. Void, one of the weaker laners, but like Wraith King, Lifestealer, Gyro, just all very good right now. They banned a bunch of them, left in Gyro. They obviously could have taken Gyro themselves 10th. That was a risk on the table, but it seemed like they pretty often would just take their supports early. So I was kind of gambling on them doing that again. And then with those side lanes feeling safe, I could allow Greg to counterpick their mid. Their mid player, although better than Greg, not better by a very large amount. So, you know, I thought there was a lot of value in being able to win that lane, or at least have a very relevant hero for Greg. So yeah, that was just kind of my reasoning there. So without further ado, I guess we're just going to get into the specifics here. Just double check this is recording. Yep. So first phase bans were pretty targeted on both sides. This was actually the final week of RD12 group stage. So both teams had a lot of data to work with. A lot of games on Dota buff to go off of. They chose to ban Axe, Void, and Wraith King. These are all heroes that I first picked in my early videos. I talked about Void a lot. I was pretty much willing to first pick that hero any game I was allowed to, any game it wasn't banned. Around halfway through, I think teams realized that and began first banning it against us. In the last couple weeks, they have at least. I think I did the same with Wraith King. Axe was kind of a more recent thing between all my computer stuff failing, so I stopped making videos. Those couple weeks of RD2L, I first picked Axe. We ran it as a 3 or a 4, and so they chose to ban the Axe. On my side, I chose to ban Tiny and Night Stalker, or I should start with Tiny, I guess. Tiny is a pick I think they're willing to first phase and was kind of scary. Their mid player, it's his most played hero, he's a high win rate on it. It's kind of annoying to deal with, I didn't want to deal with it. Night Stalker and Coddle are kind of a combination of being very strong meta heroes that I know this team plays. I think the Night Stalker of this team is actually really scary because they will play it in all 3 roles. All 3 of their core roles, 1, 2, 3, play Night Stalker. Coddle, probably the best pause 5 in the game right now, and they have pretty decent support players on their side, so I didn't want to risk giving them a Coddle. They open up with a Jakiro, pretty generic opener. I've done it a few times myself. I think most RD12 teams have been opening with either Jakiro or CM, if they're opening with a pause 5 like that. I don't think that's changed since my early videos. I then go for CM Sand King. I picked these two heroes for a very specific reason. The carry player on the opposing team is a PL spammer. Maybe not too much of a spammer, but it's his most played hero. He likes it a lot. He also plays like the other excuse me, illusion carries, like he's a pretty big Naga fan. He eventually ends up picking Luna, which is like not truly an illusion hero, but pretty much always buys a Manta. Kind of has the same power farm up, agi, very good with illusions kind of hero. So I wanted to be able... I didn't want to ban his heroes, because if I'm really blatantly honest, I don't think he's a good player, but I also didn't want to give him a free game. Crystal Maiden and Sand King are like very good against PL. They're both just a ton of AoE magic damage. For the same reason, they're pretty decent against Naga. And, yeah, that was that. I also think they're generically pretty good. Sand King and CM I have first picked in previous games as well. Sand King's actually been banned against us a bunch. It might be the most banned hero against us, actually. I have to double check on that. CM I've also first picked a bunch, so objectively good heroes, but also heroes specifically designed to stop them from picking some of their favorite carries. Also some ambiguity in the Sand King here. Having ambiguity in your early picks. I talked about this when I was kind of explaining the things I don't like about second pick. How these two picks can be really scary, because you don't know like 4 of the other heroes on the enemy team. But ambiguity helps with that a lot. The Sand King, if I needed to pick a different 4, I was willing to run it off lane. If I needed to pick a different off lane, I was willing to run it 4. So let's move on. They pick an Undying. I'm not entirely sure what their full reasoning is on this, of course, because I'm not inside their heads. It's possible they were kind of already planning on picking a Luna, or were at least planning on tri-laning, which I'll go into in a bit. And the hero is pretty decent right now, but anyway, they chose to do that. I'm obviously, as I've mentioned in the past, a pretty big fan of trying to pick hard-to-counter cores there, but, you know, it wasn't a terrible pick. Undying Jakiro is a really scary laning support duo. Whether you dual lane or tri-lane, they just bring a lot of laning power, so I can kind of dig it. The second phase bans, they ban Lifestealer, who's pretty good against both those supports, and Zeus, who I think probably more of a targeted ban towards us. We've ran it as both pause 4 and pause 2 pretty successfully, and repeatedly. I banned Necrophos. They had a guy. They have their offlane player really likes Necrophos. I didn't want them to have like this just obscene laning followed into early team fight. Like I was scared that with Jakiro Undying they'd have these really good lanes and they'd also have really good early to mid game team fight. And Necro is just kind of more of that. They could potentially kind of run up my high ground. So I banned the Necro. Also banned the Bloodseeker, because I was planning on picking Gyrocopter immediately afterwards. And I think it's a little annoying to play against Bloodseeker as a Gyro. You're a carry that kind of likes to move around. You, despite being a ranged hero, don't really have very much range. Kind of want to be on top of people with your Rocket Barrage and short attack range. So don't want to get ruptured. Then pick said Gyro hero. This is one of the like few carries that I think are just insanely good. I think Gyro is honestly possibly one of the best carries in the game right now. The hero is like super obscene. They reply with a Luna. Luna's been kind of popular in the meta recently, but not as a right-clicking pause 1. Usually, from what I've seen, there's been a lot of pause 4 Luna that kind of, they get like some early auras and then turn into a caster, like Ags and the Talents. I've also heard of some people playing core Luna and going just full-on caster build, like Veil Ags, and getting the Talents. Now, I had a pretty good feeling that knowing the player that was playing this Luna, he wasn't going to do that. And I was fairly sure he was just going to go the right-click build, even though right-click Luna's pretty not good right now. And so I responded to this with a Shadow Demon. Shadow Demon's kind of the traditional counter and partner of Luna. The illusions he makes hit really hard. They're really nasty. Luna illusions are just like really good. That's why the hero almost always buys Manta, or probably should always buy Manta. Why Shadow Demon's such a good combo with her, but it can also work against her. Make illusions of her, they cause a lot of problems. He also has the BKB Piercing Ultimate. Luna being a BKB core, not a big fan of getting that BKB Piercing Slow put on her. That being said, there was a bit of a risk that they did run like the New Age Cowster Luna, in which case the Shadow Demon maybe not as good of a pick. I wasn't super scared of that though. I think the save Shadow Demon offers is also very useful here. If you look at these first 6 picks, I think you see both teams ramping up with a lot of team fight. Both of these Pause 1 cores are very team fight heavy. The Sand King, Undying, Jakiro, CM, they all just have lots of big AoE team fight. And I think the save was pretty valuable. I think Shadow Demon overall is a pretty strong hero right now. So I went for that. In response, they took a Pudge. Now this one I think was pretty smart and also maybe at the same time a little questionable. When I look at my own draft so far, I look at these 4 heroes. I think like the potential weakness, or the thing you want to abuse, is that it's a lot of magic damage. Gyro does pretty good physical with his right clicks with his flat cannon, but overall this is just like a ton of magic. CM Sand King almost entirely magic and a lot of it. Gyro, despite having good right clicks, also just a ton of magic damage. Shadow Demon mostly utility, but the damage he offers is, once again, magic damage. I think as the Radiant team, you're thinking, what hero can I pick that abuses that fact? What hero can kind of shrug off magic damage? And their answer to that was Pudge. It's a hero their offlaner really likes playing. It's a hero that definitely fits the bill of really shrugging off magic damage. He can also has a BKB Piercing Stun for Gyro. Gyro being a BKB core, it's a little annoying. However, not that big of a deal because of Side Gunner, as well as Shadow Demon save, being able to get people out of Eat, even if Pudge himself is BKB'd. The one issue I think with this pick was Soul Catcher. So Shadow Demon's W is a spell that does temporary damage based on current health, and it is pure damage. And the issue with that being both percent and pure is that it is very effective against a high HP hero like Pudge. Pudge walks in with like 4,000 health, he looks unkillable, but you drop a Soul Catcher on him and now he's under 3,000, and it's a lot more doable. Especially since his resistances aren't amazing. Even though he's pretty good against magic damage, he doesn't have crazy good armor. So, I think that was maybe a slight mistake. That and the fact that we already have a save to save people that are getting hooked. I do wonder if a better pick for them, honestly, would have just been like a Viper. Put a Viper mid, and then picked something a little more traditional for your offlane, like a Centaur. It's still a tanky strength hero that is naturally, you know, most of these tanky strength offlaners are decent against magic as is. Can buy your pipe, offer you some real initiation, which I don't think Pudge is great at, but that's what they chose to do. So they lost, but you know that they did it. I ban out Quap. I'm scared of Quap just blowing up my Gyro in fights, as well as being a fairly difficult hero to lane against mid. I mentioned I was kind of scared of the snowball potential with the Necro pick. That still remains. If they manage to shut down Gyro early and then snowball so he can't catch up farm, it is potentially just a lost game. They banned Viper, probably for a similar reason I suggested them picking Viper. They have a lot of magic damage, they have a lot of early teamfight. The Viper is very good against that, some additional extra magic resist, as well as just being able to farm up whatever aura items he needs, usually Greaves. which offers a lot of early team fight. And then they picked the Invoker. This was, they picked this, and I don't know if they were always going to run it Quas Exhort, but they played it Quas Exhort. So very greedy hero. Sort of the opposite of what I was expecting them to do, to be honest. I thought this would really just be a really goony fighting game where both teams just had a ton of mid-game team fight and would fight each other, but they went for Invoker instead. It is more team fight. It's also, maybe importantly, more lockdown. Undying Luna, a lot of good team fight, but no lockdown to keep them there. You can't entirely rely on a Jakiro punch for that, really. So Invoker some more of that. A little iffy on that pick, to be honest. As you know, but I mean, the guy played it well, and it made some sense. There's also the potential to do Sunstrike combos with Pudge Eat, which is pretty big against a BKB core like Gyro, once again. The lockdown from Pudge is annoying, but not the end of the world, but if you throw a Cataclysm on top of that, it can be pretty lethal. Once again, they were picking it into a Shadow Demon at the very end of this game, and maybe I'll just briefly go over some points in this game, like on the replay. You do actually see them try and pull off that combo to take down the BKB Gyro, and he just gets bubbled and lives. Our response pick was a Rubik. It's a little bit of a weird pick, probably a bit of a questionable pick, like objectively speaking. But it is a pretty good Rubik game. If you take a Jakiro spell, particularly Ice Path, that's extremely useful. A lot of Invoker's spells are very useful. You can get your hands on Hook or Eat, it's pretty useful. If you get your hands on Luna Ult, if you steal that, it's pretty much a one fight on its own. And Greg is a very good Rubik player, one of his better heroes, so we're like, hey, let's take the Rubik. That did make us a little all-in on magic damage, but not entirely. We still have the Gyrocopter Flak Physical, and honestly, I don't feel like they are that bad, or that good, I should say. That good against magic damage. So, I guess we could look at a couple things in game. Or maybe I should, like, pause this and see if I was talking too fast. Start again if needed. I don't know. Do I want to start again? What time is it? 7:08. That ain't too bad. So I guess we'll go over lanes real quick. I think, to some degree, your draft is directly tied to how well your lanes go. If you're thinking of your draft in like a large perspective, like how does the game overall go, usually there has to be the assumption that you get out of the laning stage. I think most games are pretty losable if you lose the laning stage really hard. Like even if your lineup is theoretically good against their lineup in the mid game, you know, if you come out of laning phase with like an 8k deficit, there's a pretty good chance that you've just lost. It happens less in RD2L and even less in LD2L because there's just a lot more mistakes that happen. But yeah, let's have a quick peek. Interesting with the laning setup is that they put Pudge solo bottom and against our Sand King, and they put this tri-lane. I am curious if they had intended to do this from the get-go. Luna as a hero is not super strong in lane, but she is very good in a tri-lane with this aura. And especially when she has both a strength hero and an int caster, at least in my opinion. If you have the strength hero getting this extra strength from Luna, and you have this caster hero getting more mana from Luna, like, it's pretty hard to deal with. I swear I should have died here. Oh, why'd they stop? Okay, that's why I lived. I wasn't even looking at myself, to be honest. But anyway, this is how they chose to run the lanes. Run the lanes. Those weren't words. I think this was pretty smart. Like I said, these heroes, like Jakiro and Undying, just annihilate whatever lane they're in. Like like, even just one of them would be hard to lane against. When you have both of them in the same lane getting buffed by a Luna, I mean, it was, like, really stupid for us to try lane into them in theory. Now, in reality, everyone in this game is pretty bad. We're like, it's like a low 4K average game. So, this lane was just everyone killed each other until we had equal gold. So, it kind of worked out, but, you know, that's just what I'll say there. Let's go to the end. Let's see what I was talking about with why I kind of question the Invoker Pudge combo. So we're about 40 minutes in here. Pudge has a pipe. We have a pipe on Sand King. These are like the only aura items in the entire game, I believe. So neither team has a lead there. And this is pretty... I think this choice to go BKB, I find a little questionable. So the thing with Pudge BKB that makes this item like insanely good on him is that you literally just BKB, walk up to an enemy core, and you ult them. And there is like nothing anyone can do about it unless you have a save or a BKB piercing stun. And we have a save. Which is why I don't entirely get the point. I know he's a very good Pudge player, but I do wonder why something like Viper Centaur wasn't preferred. They also, once again, they kind of lack initiation. I say once again way too much. Like, Sand King... almost, I mean, not that similar to Pudge, but some similarities. He has pretty continuous AoE magic damage, Rot and Sandstorm, and he doesn't, I mean, he likes to go other items other than just auras, but the main difference here is this, like, blink stun thing. Because Pudge doesn't really do that as well. Like, really, he wants, because his stun is a channel, he kind of feels like he has to get the BKB first. And honestly, at this point, he probably should have bought out a Blink, not a Mystic Staff. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm really rambling at this point, I'm sure. Let's just see the part I wanted to see. Okay. Just fantastic spell usage there. XD Kappa. Everyone just dies to the gyro. The Luna's doing like shit all. God, he was 21 and 5. I didn't realize Flocka was owning this hard. I knew he was owning. I just didn't realize we had this many kills, I think. I knew he was a large portion, I just thought we had less. Okay, but this is the pretty important thing here. I swear I'm not trying to suck my own dick or anything here, because I don't actually think I'm a good Shadow Demon player. Which is actually probably to the point here. Because what we're going to see happen is that they're, you know, their Luna's on dieback, they're losing racks, they're pretty desperate. They managed to get the hook. This is like, their only actual form of initiation is this hook, right? They then get off this Dismember. They drop the Cataclysm. This is like 3 of these suckers. How much are they apiece? This is like 1500 pure damage. He very well might have died, but he was bubbled, so he took 0 damage. And then they lose the game. They just all die. So yeah, I really don't think they dealt. I don't think I liked their last 2 picks very much. I don't even think our last pick was amazing. I kind of talked about in my initial videos how I think one of the big issues with people taking second pick that aren't very good at drafting or have players that aren't like insanely versatile or high skilled is that it's hard to make proper use of that last pick. But I also think the strength of first pick, which is having those 2 picks near the end, was kind of wasted by the friendly Doomcow team here. Like, I don't think these 2 heroes did as much as they wanted to. Even though in theory I think they were fine. I think the Gyro hero was just way stronger than the Luna hero, and we had a save hero, and they did not have a save hero, unless you count Pudge. which is kind of a hard to use save. So anyway, I'm gonna pause this and then I'm gonna talk about the Game 2 draft. Let's make sure this video is like not total garbage.